Great. And then, so this we have discussed just the small business insurance. So any insurance covering, targeting the small businesses and their business risks can come under here, including vehicle. If you want to add vehicle here, feel free to please. And then lastly, it's for farmers. Usually when we're talking about climate and agricultural insurance, so if there are schemes that target farmers, uh, and again, there could be many. Some examples are index insurance, catastrophic insurance, or livestock insurance. And if there are more, feel free to put together and add the data here. And again, the indicators still remain the same. If you have data, great. If you don't have data, that's totally fine. You don't, just wherever possible, we would like to get as many indicators and data disaggregated by sex as possible. So this is the input sheet. And just to give you an example, we have filled in the first row for the accident and health portfolio. You see just random numbers. And I'll fill more, but before that, I want to show you the output sheet. So this is the sheet which you fill, and that's you're done. And what you can do is then you move on to the output tab. It will reflect everything that you have entered here. So the name, the date, and there's some instructions, but this is more for your reflection internally with your teams, with your stakeholders, or with leadership to say, okay, these are the indicators and what it looks like for our company. So you see the same numbers over here reflecting for accident and health insurance portfolio. And then there on the right, you will see that there are very small calculations being done. These are not actuarial calculations. These are just taking basic percentages and averages of the numbers that you have entered here. But the first thing it does is it does check a quality of the data on sex disaggregated data. So for example, for these numbers, you see there are 100 females, 120 males over, and there's some people of other sexes. And for some policies, there is no data available. So the total is 282. And then what we are doing here is that out of the 100% of the data, we have actually 82%, for 82% of the data, we have sex indicators, which is good enough for us. So the sex data availability is good. Or in some cases, if it's less than 70, 75, we'll say that it's not adequate, or it's average, it's not very high. And in some cases where there is all in the unknown bracket, then we are not doing those calculations because the sex data is either not available or reliable. So to give you an example, going back to this, so let's say, just again, putting some random numbers here. So let's say 4,000, we put 2,000, we put 0, and we put, say, 10,000. Let's say 12,000. So whatever your currency is, we have put this here, and then we see output. So you see that we have entered that data, but our calculation suggests that you have sex data only for 33% of this indicator. So we don't think it makes sense to have further calculations done. So in this case, this is an average. This is the amount of premium, and what we wanted to calculate was average premium paid per policyholder. But because we don't have reliable information, we are not doing this calculation, and so on and so forth. So it's super simple, super intuitive, nothing which you can't do on calculator yourself, but we are making it very simple for you. And then there are graphs here, which you can just quickly refer to in case you want to. And you can also print it, basically. If you want to put it in a printable format, all you have to do is to go File, Print, and in a PDF version, you will basically actually start seeing that these are reports that you can actually print in separate pages and refer to them in as you would like to wish. So you can print it. I'll stop here and take a quick break. And if there are questions, please feel free to add in the chat. I can take them in the end because I'm sure there might be questions. So just to be efficient on time, please add in the chat. And then once we are done with the demonstration, I will address those questions. Um, and before we move on to the next tool, so this was on business indicators, which try to measure market access and usage by sex. So how many women have access to certain policies, how many men have access to certain policies, and whether the data is being collected or not, right? So this is what the tool is trying to attempt here. The next part of the tool is for organization diversity. So within the organization, what is the division of employees and certain other indicators by sex? So here, maybe we can, I don't know the slide number, Laura, after this maybe. So we just did the demonstration of this. Now we go on the next slide, which will be the demonstration of organizational diversity indicators. And again, before, just the way we started with a poll, we do want to start with a poll here as well, which is again collecting just basic information on yes and no, whether you collect this data or not. So if Laura, you can share the poll. Yes, so the link is in the chat. Please just add your response to that, and we will start with the demonstration of the other tool. I'll share my screen again. Right. Okay. So we just looked at this access and usage indicator. Now we are looking at the org diversity. So that's the file name that you may have received. Again, you save it in your desktop. Hopefully it opens. And again, you will see that macros warning here, enable content, and that's when you can get started. Similar to this, now it's fairly quick because there are lesser indicators, there are no portfolios involved and all those things. Okay, so we have two tabs, one with the name of the insurer, which will change automatically, you don't have to change it, and then the output tab in the same format, which we'll explain. So going here, so let's say the name of the insurance company we want to add is PIL. This is org diversity indicator. And what we want to do is, usually for org diversity, we take stock as on date and whatever duration we look at. And here in this case, we are looking at a duration of 12 months prior to this date. So the whole year's data as on this date. So let's say today's date. So we say August. So once we enter PIL, you saw that the tab name changed to PIL. So you don't need to change the name. And date here, let's say 17th August 2023. This doesn't change the calculation. Let's say if I want to. I don't know what's happening here. Maybe it's just too long here, so that's why it's not appearing, but it's not material. Don't worry about it if you see this error. Here again, we see there are 6 indicators. Collect the data, review this file, then you know what data to be collected, and then you look at those indicators. Just numbers, no letters, no special characters or anything that needs to be added. Again, the same sex categories are there. If you don't have the indicator or data, just add 0 against that particular data. Yeah, and there are some drop down over here, which is basically just taking information around what are the current practices within the organization. So like if there's a equal opportunity employment policy, and the drop-down options are yes, no, or in progress. So select the appropriate option based for every question. And then we are looking at 6 indicators for org diversity. And we are looking at 5 levels. So there are board members, there are executive management, and we are aware that each organization may have different hierarchy, different nomenclature. So what we have tried to do is, because it is supposed to be a tool that should be applied to all, we are not using designations like VPs, directors, managers, etc., because it could be different for a different organization. So what we are doing here is board members. Everybody understand what board members is. We're talking about executive management. So anybody which is in the CEO or MD, whatever is the top boss, whosoever is the top boss. So it could be CEO, or some organizations may call it managing director. So look at the top boss and his or her direct reportees. So the number of people reporting to the CEO or MD would be this column, this row. Then people manager, full-time employees who have at least one person reporting into them are people manager. Then all other staff. So anybody who does not have any other reporting to them comes under staff, right? So all full-time employees will come here. And then in many jurisdictions, insurance companies also have individual agents who are licensed to sell insurance products on their behalf to the customers directly. So an insurance company may have its own sales team, but there are, like in India, I know that there are licensed individual agents who can sell products of the insurance companies that they are affiliated with, and they can talk to the customers and sign on the proposal form on their behalf. So that's the data that comes under here over there. So again, we are looking at the indicator number of employees and agents by sex. Hired in the last 12 months. So we know the date that we entered, which unfortunately is not reflecting here, but you know the date here, and it shows here. So you know that we have entered the date. It's just not reflecting here. So as on 17th August, so till last year, 17th August, and between then and now, how many new people have been hired across these levels and by sex? Then people who left the organization, again, in the last 12 months, across these levels and by sex. We are looking at number of promotions across these levels and by sex. And if there were any training provided to the employees, and here we are not taking the level-wise thing, we are just saying for all full-time employees, how many attended any training that were provided to them by sex, and for licensed individual agents as well, because there are separate training sometimes mandated by the regulators for individual agents. So that's where it will come here. And we are also looking at average salary level. So for salary level, we are looking at the executive management, people managers, and staff. And in some cases, the individual agents may be earning commissions on the products or policies that they are selling. So that's where this data will come here. So what is their average earnings or commission that is applied here? So this information comes here. So for example, this number will be all women being a part of executive management combined. What is their average salary for just the women employees? What is the average salary of the male employees in the executive management, and so on and so forth. So this is the information that you'll mention here. And the output, again, is the same format as you saw in the earlier template. So we have on the left side the exact indicators for your quick reference, and on the right side, we are doing some calculations. Please, so we also have the same, how comprehensive is the sex data on employees, and our sense is generally most organizations do collect the sex information of their employees. So I'm hoping that it's comprehensive for all organizations. There might be some exceptions. And there will be this column that you see which says potential gender imbalance. All we are checking here is there an imbalance in either case? So there may be too many women or too many men in that row. It will indicate a gender imbalance. It is not something that, you have to, of course, look it in the context, right? Because, a 33 to 67 ratio may be by design or by default or by force, we don't know. So we are not making any judgment here. We are just indicating that the numbers suggest that there might be an imbalance. And of course, you have to discuss this with your HR. And if there are people within the DEI committee or diversity committee, those will be the right people to guide further if there are any more information required or any further, digging deeper that needs to be done here. But these are really high level observations, not more than that. So if you see red, do not get alarmed by the color or by the statement. It's just for your reference to take it forward internally. And just to give you one more demonstration, so I've already filled this. And you see that with this data, under the number of employees and agents, we have some random numbers. I've already pre-filled it, but I can do one more. So hired in the last 12 months, let's say no board members were hired. Executive management, maybe we hired 1, 2, 0, 0. And we hired, say, 5 people, manager, 5, just a sample. And so we go here and we see the same numbers, and it tells us what the observations are. So you see, sometimes it'll say it's not observed because it's very balanced. Let's say, just to give you an example, if we say 10 here and 2 here, so more women were hired than men. It still shows that there is a gender imbalance. So it's not in the favor of any particular sex. It just shows overall, are we seeing any balance or not, right? So this is, and then you save it and send it to your regulator over here. So I'll stop sharing this file. We are done with the demonstration. And I can take questions. But before that, I think there are a few slides that we want to complete. So maybe let's do that first, yeah.
Thank you, Shauki. And we do have questions in the chat, but let me just show one more slide on what are the next steps, and then we'll get back to, we'll stop recording and then we'll go to the questions. So what we wanted to do with this, if we could go to, I think it's the last slide. Yes. So we are on the 17th today, and again, if by 14th of September, so that's almost 4 weeks, you could fill the templates and send back to your supervisors. If you want templates to be anonymized so that we do not see the name of the company, please indicate that when you're sending your sheets, your templates to the supervisor. Then supervisors will anonymize your templates and send back to us. Again, we don't have to see even the name of the company. We want to see the aggregated data, but it doesn't, it's not relevant for us where it's coming from, as long as it's coming from a few different companies. It could be called A, B, C, D. Then the idea is that we will work with supervisors in September. We will work with supervisors on helping them compile the data so that that they have a better market overview. And then we're hoping around 10th of October, but we will let you know, to have then a joint session with both you and supervisors to discuss what was your experience on collecting the data. How's your experiences in using the tool? How long did it take? If any feedback that you could give us would be appreciated. So around 4 weeks, a few days left, then 4 weeks for you to compile the data and to send back to regulators. So I think we can stop recording here because we wanted to have Q&A session that everybody feels comfortable with.